I'm saying baba phone na dum also enra ye jai no nam say there be there mate no nye and was saying I'll get back to you man tin nka bi and you my bre me ko fie me take care meeting say nothing say how this guy is harmless Erica Jeffrey Bono ho Sami Jamfi free Bono ho omo beto yampie diatame muade and nam say yen accommodating. Now we didn't have anything to hide in Tino. They had their leeway. Edi pamye no omusu free Bono ho no mu atokro na mu abronya ni baba mando wo mo de yanwo mu nti mebo ana yanwo mu enno kroye na Kofi Juma tra America over 49 years wa Bobra New Jersey former mayor na konta national no so what you say Kofi Ghana nya na Kofi Ghana wa Bobra na motima wura ni fie mo kwanso amamfa main gate o me o ma fafie na ti sei akos bubunet no a wo fie wo nyina enra me hu video na nsa sembe na akos areho krati sembe ni areho krati sembe ni areho na ya kachire Ghana fo eno de yebekwaso aka kachire sasa brunsam oba osani etutu firi no oba biewu ahonhom no dɔɔso do mama free set 2016 2 no Ghana ye bone nti obetua ya soka panimfo so otua yen soka sani ya kontrofi kotua atrofi oti ase otua yen soka sani ya kontrofi kotua atrofi wode makwachi sheyani en wa brim yen en na wakache si yesu oba boyen ye to so adem from ebe kwa yiri ye to o man be be ewom no and that is typical of this very wicked na your security no air from no hwede wo koye ede ba ba kura na mrantie wo mu kan ya odi we mu wo mu Kevin Taylor krati wo Captain Smart wati wo Sami Jamfi wati wo Sam George ti wo Udoba wati wo okuje tabla kwati wo Akando ti wo these elements these materials wo mu krampo no you carry them. No wonder Ghana's progress is retrogressing. This element, empty-headed, you will say. One more cry, carry them. Now you are more crampo. Look, one mama no or kafun cheubia. And no 2012, 2016. And so when say ya no dear, add a one kai tobra, one kai Captain Koda, one kai abua papon, one kai Kene Japan, one kai abuabia Samoa, one kai Tijani. And many more on kai one kai on Mari Wadi, one kai Fadi Dabusi, under John Dramani Mama. Na kodru babia de wi amo ye Europe na Japan na President Kufuor eko bie na no kan sa kokko na tia bankumba nkrase kasa pani a wanyina duru sei enso o ka che President Kufuor enso was fine ye wo ye one of the greatest beneficiaries of President Kufuor woni unu anyina wan toana mama mfanyansa nkasa pani me ferifo o kasa tra was fine ye o kasa tra ye the bulldozer ene beku no ye the bulldozer enti obi a wo no hye aboni ade no ene look let me quote something from ene quote in Snubedoso when ye mekrata no ba ko indispensable philosophical quote for strategic political management and leadership when ye page 54.158 or say bad politicians are often the authors of their own disgrace for in their reckless quest to destroy others they unwittingly write their own judgment in making their opponents appear filthy. They expose the filth within their own souls, unmeasured, unkind, and unwise. They hang their own dirty linings for the world to see, thinking they are whitening their garment, forgetting that the stench of cruelty clings to all who wield it. They forget that to err is human, and in denying this truth to others, they condemn themselves to the same ruthless standard tomorrow. They are no more you know. Say ya just be yebi, and then yentite because your party. So Osha Kufu adu anim, Osha Kufu anim, Kwame ado Kufu anim, Hackman anim, Makekwe monim, Odoi Sykes nom, any penifo enya bikwa. Wamu nye ni pafon, waka se, wamu embodi mi a mismiko kebi. Enti penifo the standard in masa ya stubborn o. Ya stubborn pa, nemo mnushe penifo nwa, ediani ya wa metino ma mi jason, ya ni echi. Eni ntino ya cha, imagine say metie makanye ma nye pa na bia ye say Akufo Addo frɛw na ye ka se me mentor Akufo wo frɛw na de kra fra kobepo no so enti edu ba bia checks wo ho na ntisa dia wo mo nkrofo nkrase dia wo mo no mo ye no masa ene ya te asidwom oti ase imagine say metie kanse nwunu na ba o mi afrem say me nu akumabra. How will I even conduct myself before because you want to ye and a man sama ye and kasa de ebeka ba MPP ye kasa ni nyan ya gini se sen ye ba o man benya ho mfaso o man ya yet me the free SHS aba ko kan de betuma ya o se pad ni crash sem na Ghana for asum na de wadani goalkeeper and what toto pad atokoso pad we de o ye cheap Akufo Addo ena cast what the pad beba ko be the case one district one factory na da na Akufo Addo one district say dey be a pad enti ye dey na wo so sika koto aguo common sense should tell you say John Mahama say wunu apani wo ofa Akufo Addo etmi nyansa so ye one district e was say cut me wram na nka sika no o first you the 290 million second you 290 million meanwhile 24-hour economy you promise sika mo budget $4 billion and so as it stands now sika mo dey to me 110 million and so 110 pad edu ba bi kra de wo sebo wa manifesto no mu se mo be si adwaye o school bia se se be 350 asese wo be si adwaye let me go school bia wo school bia mu the man bu yensa ne akohonom na wo mu akohonom na wo ma akoye yi akohuru yensa bossa di akwa wo shebi pa I'll look for it e wo ha wo mu manifesto no o shey nka du kura mpo de nka ye sabi po de akyere
the buy say even sap a bus short bus ya vox ya ben obi die say ne value no the man so nko twai 800,000 Ghana cedis obi so the container say 40-footer container ba your money to 80,000 Ghana cedis all of a sudden ade e buy last week so nko to 600,000 ade no to 80,000 less than 100,000 no I feel the so nko to 600,000 as brought by Eeiii wo appeal na Eeiii na sa reject wo appeal da wo the buy no enti e be hwe me no ka say ma me ka straight away me nua baba Amando ye nyina ye ba ye nua panyi ye papa ya damfo ye ofase na baba Amando MPP ni mapa judge bi de na tum enra enti a menya ne say what the cantonment police of a police station but CCA signals are me picky HSA enkofo bi higher authority omo frefre say baby awada na why you too comfortable for him eto munyi ni free ho enfa nko baby from me modin but ma prepare boys be sell omunyi ni free say enfa nko lo mo no e was cells inside ho we are monitoring and we don't pekopa mu pa mu nko yi na bi sa bontina mu nku no say Ghana baby abedru die kan ka bia ban ne wo so obeti pa twaliti wa bontin but said the onwa kan ye no wa sha no hodin o si JB dan kwa boe de no he is nowhere near JB dan kwa bra bobo no man ni wiase it was no JB dan kwa boe ni se ya na wo no ya bra ko be fi pacho emoache emoakwa ba bibia boko
onya metiase
books with the watro odi bi so abane okay na enra many the record court 9 circuit court 9 ekohwe ye nua ne sid na omode ne ekwan bo omode ne faso na federal market wi e Kasai onaba federal market lead of the mighty minority Kasai na
woni bafo wu ampodie menenam na udwane he had to flee the scene because that place na ba be a crime scene also bafo wu a won se do sitie ya tete no to Kasai ho te na wase wo suro se wan hwe obeka asem bi ama I implicate and I said be just a bend that the court to settle level one show no one consequence kwa ni nti no udwane ko say the came free ho boy honorable after market I just had Kasafa court with the officer of the court but enrano wakasa ka say was chief justice say o major records of proceedings na won hwe bi na otimi hwe bi wi a wan hwe ya obetake decision bi on the second court judge ya yenko
dia koso achechacheche
me da se ma menchia atifo me ni tani ehwe mani
wanim dia ya womunim dada se hu ma se ba ko na
ni da so ho
baby wadri
na me hunya fe nchasi edu nkatia
ya baby wadri de wo huntim nya fe bie mu
sa
wadru ayi no what saturation level wadru wuntimi nko anim bie mu
sa me nya 91 kranche
ti you don't expect say who better if
but da so nchasi edu nkatia de ye ko contest me beat no
ese edu nkatia so no was the lowest you know no da ya no wutimi to try ya twam go from poa anyway
yo anopay ma menchia tifo da twedi ampoase se wodi wuku ada ahye nsa anopay on sem hoyefe
so we did the we signature
fools now
we ya do to be materials ne pa
fools na we kra de binyi tese meko ne apam go on ma na mafa
mo di dwache
na brantie na wo ye sare wo mienu ba ko kumase kwaku outlook opam otimi se be mapam
we see nyina say nyina fools
na de owo owo zongole e friend imam young guy na dwuma obetimi aye no odi broni kura ba obedwane
omo pam e kama e da wo ho
de bo mo pam se omo fools line ti omo kwa omo ne ton mami na wa se oya
dem so ko yi ala wa pam mama omo ko yi material no ma pam mama
bi de okika de chesade no kura de apam dada
dem bi omo ko benda boutique
ko hwe
materials ni yi ya no ma be pam mama omo ya de
imam
one day ya fa ba ko bra
me chia no ma me chia mo fast ba ko nso wo fast e minua na wusu na me yonko ba ko akwasi amankwa obia west ose kwadwo krum
ose amankwa kristo so
me chia adwofia bebia onipa ko gina wo so de Eeiii boho beba kokko mfomu ni ade no na me chia chama Isua Benjamin
chama so a ne ho te sei
ne ho ye
betini ka chi
very good man
yeah
woni current chairman nyina nso me chia wo
my men so ben chia first honorable kilo we former constituency organizer and former coordinator for Ponkata Manso my men chia pa is a fantastic man
and nya ne fa nyanjie
na say na dey start
and me chia Dr. Mahmoud ba o me nya me de no code naba
ba yen pa che
ba yi nyanhia okay we say emre bia na kwete so ba fofora ba kurase mema be di ka ko nyina o motehwe
ya munya
nti wo tanchiri na ko abo so ko ya ne dem Doctor ye chiao
for mo se dan e power bo
minua ensem no chese me who say the messi aka no msa na dwi me try article be me send ma I'll read it here
okay
ama manfo hu the exact picture of John Mahama na ye try anye ye nipa a odi enso no emsa bronsam trimo mrecha John Mahama wa bani wasenuam the idiom of our time and as John Mahama ye bibi na ye wadwen say the war ye no we dey be katunu for that bi o wa bani was what try be careful
ontiafutu what dey tro
and anka de tie nso ni say en kamera ti say we say no o my bambo no hu hia ye nkese hia ye kese hwe se brekum Chelsea fu akobo ball ye ba security a enye nti baby ani kwam ye be kuma yi footballer
we the Ghana the minti be that
what you say
when you say President Mahama ban wo opposition leader e ka say am robbery koso under the
one the wo hu yi
one the wo hu
oba ye na ne doba sami jamfi na ye kokun no
nasi
o kasa se pani
nasi o
onyame nsoma no se na David kai no man ka kasa boni
yeah.
but enye wonye nipa o ye Ghanaian o ye anti Ghanaian ni sunu ne ba ne nye Ghana ni ya tete no ne papa eya na oye Eeiii John Mahama papa so we study history ni ade ade a on tisa John Mahama is a different person
no we free
baby o friend onim ebi nso ade mrantie no mi wonum bidi a yes sir it impairs your judgment
na baba kwa lo se bo nso eskani no baba is more
it impairs your
human relations far
baba nini
Ibrahim
oh na say Ibrahim there one on fa frin carry ana winim
say we say menuji but eventually no you are proving right
yes
bi kakra
masa me no papa na ko school no anya de me na nam kire na de ntimi ka
papa de no kwa me free
na say o free me ho
tete e fa de gili Gilbert.
Me another wo papa nickname crab na bo kire wo. Anyway, boy just by the way.
Mo fa be just.
So dear Ben, he's sadist. And he takes interest. Se nipa kwa hu kire mu a.
Na ni agi.
Yes. When he's meeting or perpetuating wickedness against humanity na nije. That is typical of John Dramani.
And he looks down upon people.
Yes. Say onu ankasa ni SSS no. Psychologists will tell you say onu ankasa no obi a wonni respect ema nipa. Obi a won mu nipa no. The self esteem of form. Yeah, one of the secrets of the protecting home. So you who di now resilient level e was soro. Now you will be a fan say wo cherish your esteem wa you respect every human being.
Yes.
Into one ye dictator, one ye manipulators like your mama no. You woman sinu or mobile. So what you say?
Me say.
Because emra you woman ye insecurity. Things are falling apart. Ye kobo bolaba. Ye kokum de kum ni this year. Emra ye mia minua baba kuma down for pa nyanchen. At the pharmacy.
Wo se akoko ni kunu.
Ne kunu. Na fed ye de nam say oh no na ekune ho. Papa no responsible papa. Ade ba chibia yakum nipa o mai mu. And instead of being responsible, hwede wo ye. Wo ye papa nkwani mu nte. Nia wo ye na nyenti no. You think say ube use this kind of a idea no huna mebo a. Na nro ye. Ye dia bronye kwa no pa no me fra bronye. Eno so say me fra kwadwo pon krom wi a senior I'll get back to you. But time of friend me no ma ye engaged. Then me frɛ baba Amando. Me frɛ no na ne phone adum na me frɛ eye ame ya kyerɛ me honorable. Na me se baba phone adum. No so enra ye jai no. Na me se da bi dia metie no nye. And was saying I'll get back to you. Man ten nka bi. Enwumere ma bre. Me ko fie me take care meeting said nothing say how? This guy is harmless. Erica Jeffrey bunu ho. Sami Jamfi free bunu ho. Omo beto yampie diatame muade. And nam say yen accommodating. Now we didn't have anything to hide in Tino. They had their leeway. Eni pamie no omo su free bunu ho no mu atokro na mu abronya ni baba Amando. Wo mo de yanwo mo nti mebo ana.
Yanwo mo.
Eno kroye na Kofi Dwuma. Kofi Dwuma tra America over 49 years. Wa bobra New Jersey former mayor na contact nasino no. So what you say? Kofi Ghana nya ne Kofi Ghana. Wabobra. Na motime wura ni fie mo kwanso amamfa main gate o. Me ni o ma fafie na ti sei. Akos bubunen no a wo fie wo nyina.
Enra me hu video na.
Nyansa sembe na ekos
areho.
Nkrasi sembe ni.
Areho.
Nkrasi sembe ni.
Areho.
Na ya ka kire Ghana fo. Eno de ye bekoso aka. Ka kire sesa brunsam oba oseni etutu free no oba biewa honhom no doso do mama free set 2016 2 no Ghana ye bone ntu obetua ye soka panimfo so otua ye soka sani ya kontrofikotua atrohwe oti ase otua ye soka sani ya kontrofikotua atrohwe wode makwachi seyani en wa brim yen en na waka chesi yesu oba boyen ye tonso so adem from ebe kwa wayere ye to o man be woman no. And that is typical of this. Very wicked. Na your insecurity no air form no. Hwede wo koye. E de ba be kura na mranche wo mo kan ya. Odi we mo wo mo. Kevin Taylor krati wo. Captain Smart what wo. Sami Jamfi what wo.
Sam George puti.
Sam George ti wo. Odoba oti wo.
Okuje to black.
Okuje to black kwati wo. Akando ti wo. These elements, these materials Wamu Kramponu, you carry them. No wonder Ghana's progress is retrogressing. This element, empty-headed, you will say. Wamu Krampo, carry them. Now you Wamu Krampo. Look, one mama no or kafun che ubia.
Ah no.
2012, 2016. In se unu say yan wo di ye ade won kai atobra. Won kai Captain Koda. Won kai Abua Papon. Won kai Kene Japan. Won kai Abua Bia Samoa. Won kai Tijani. And many more on kai
Yeti omunyina.
Won kai Omari Wadie.
Yeti omunyina.
Won kai Fadi Dabusi. under John Dramani Mahama na kodru baabi a de wi amo ye Europe na Japan na President Kufuor eko bie na no kan sakoko na atia bankumba nkrase kasa pani a wanyina duru sei enso catch President Kufuor enso
was why nie
we are one of the greatest beneficiaries of President Kufuor oni unu nyina wan tuana mama mfanya nsanka pani me ferifo o kasa tra
was why nie
o kasa tra
ya di bulldozer ene beku no ya di bulldozer
enti obi a wo no hye boni adeade ene adeade no ene look, let me quote something from here. And the quote is also when you mekrata no baako indispensable philosophical quotes for strategic political management and leadership. When you page 54.158 or say bad politicians are often the authors of their own disgrace. For in their reckless quest to destroy others, they unwittingly write their own judgment. In making their opponents appear filthy, they expose the filth within their own souls, unmeasured, unkind, and unwise. They hang their own dirty linings for the world to see, thinking they are whitening their garment, forgetting that the stench of cruelty clings to all who wield it. They forget that to err is human, and in denying this truth to others, they condemn themselves to the same ruthless standard tomorrow. They are no more you know. Say ya just say be bi, and then yentete because your party. So if you Kufuor ado anim, if you Kufuor anim, Kwame ado Kufuor anim, Hackman anim, Makekwe mo anim, Odoi Sykes nom, any penifo anya bi kwa. Wo mu nye nipa fon, waka say, wo mo embodi mi a mesmiko ka bi. Enti penifo the standard masa ye stubborn o.
Nank
ye stubborn pa na emom no hwe penifo no a aduane a wa metno ma mi jaso ya na echi.
Dabi.
Eni ntino ye hwa imagine say metia makanye ma nye pa na bia ye say Kufuor ado frew na ye ka say me mentor Kufuor wo frew me de kra fra kobepo no so enti eduru ba bia checks wo ho na ntisa dia wo mo nkrofo nkrase dia wo mo no mo ye no masa ene yate asidwom o ti ase imagine say metia cancer ngunu na ba o mia frem say me nu akumabra. How will I even conduct myself before him? Because you want to ye and a man sama ye and kasa de beka ba MPP ya kasa ni nyan ya gini sesen ye ba o man de benya ho mfaso o man ya yet me the free SHS ya ba ko kan ye betuma ya o se pad nye crash sem na Ghana fo asum na de wadani goalkeeper and what toto ayi pad
na wa tokoso pad we de
o ye cheap Kufuor ado and the castle de pad be ba Kobedi kasi one district one factory. Now there na Kufuor one district send the be a pad. Enti ye de na wo so sika kwoto aguo. Common sense should tell is John Mahama. Se wonu apani wo ofa Kufuor ado etmi nyansa so ye one district. I was saying cut me room. Na nka sika no. O first you the 290 million. Second you 290 million. Meanwhile 24 hour economy. You promise sika mo budget $4 billion. And so assistance now scam with at me 110 million. And so one tenny pad. Edu baby crowd ya wo sebo wow manifesto no mu se mo be si adwaye o school bia.
This is about 350 as I say.
Wo be si adwaye let me
go school bia.
E wo school bia mu. The man bu yensa na yakohonom na wo mu akohonom na wo mu akoye yi akohuru yensa. Bossa di akwa wo shebi papa. I'll look for it. Ewa one more manifesto no. Oh, o say. Nka du kura mpo de nka ye.
Say me po de akire me.
Me dasi. But me sama baso. Ninia, baby akoduro no. Ye kum nipa. Boni awudi entu no nua no ewia o mine gold. Na Kufuor ado ba ya Anglo gold ye na guo. Enti nanka wo legitimate eyi say ene me nton. But wo dwene hwa kind no. Wo se da bi yenye. Ni achechira aboa no ha ni eja no enti na sa tu abedi adanse se ha eduru ba bi ni aton ka prekro aye nto wada roma na wo de wo bana daman wo mo de at least no na aso so ati ase ye renew ma wo mo asemempene me de ama minua miensa ana de ama unua na wo na odi akira na ye nkurase de na John Mahama ide bi ni wo to mani nua kwato bi atoma ni nuanom na ya wɔtɔn ni nuanom wɔde nifa kɔ anu afa benkum agye na they play ya Ibrahim wɔde ne di na agye kan bebebe John Mahama dia I'm telling you
and say President Mahama can say alekoti ye say wɔn dia ne say
because the okache Akufo-Addo wɔso the Gabi ɛna wɔde bedi atuo ɛna wɔde ofori ata because na nase wɔ yakokora nto moyi and the Akufo-Addo kan ye no so onum nyansa na osua de no kre empanifo mo anyina duru saa no wonya ba di administration research shows how much anye corrupt as compared to young guys no and it's so manifesting enye okwabrane etimi akofa oni se kwansusua 90 billion na kokra wodwene hwe kan ya obeye saa de no kwansusa John Mahama na be masa kwame aye wonchi sa criminals we nkotu mu baba mando na akochi na tum onyame yo ho woti ase ma men kan another ayi emfanchiro wɔn ya no wɔn sere papa so ya na wɔn sere da wɔn ɛmma mpa ɛsɛ mpanimfo edi yɛn so no we can't disappoint Bawumia ɛwɔ nneɛma bi kasa bi a ɛyɛ ɛsɛ indecent yɛntimi na kɛ no wɔn bɛ yiri papa
okay abra wɔ hwehwɛ no na nagye bafo wua equotation bi a me nsa kan sɛ wɔde hwehwɛ yi no wɔ say all too often when we see injustices both great and small, we think that's terrible, but we do nothing. We say nothing. We let other people fight their own battles. We remain silent because silence is easier. And also silence gives consent. When you say nothing, when you do nothing, we are consenting to these trespasses against us. Okay, it's a Roseanne Gay, bad feminist, or the quotation, and I will know what the buyer know. You do who be see something, say something.
Yes.
Young to us about.
Yeah. Was it where me kata na mu no? 0.375 When lies become the currency of power and propaganda overshadows truth, a nation does not merely lose its way; it begins to decay from within. Ethical communication, once the lifeblood of democracy, is poisoned by deception, eroding trust between leaders and the people. A society that normalizes falsehood for political gain may win temporary battles, but it sacrifices its moral foundation in the process. Without truth, governance becomes manipulation. And exactly that is what's happening. The more you be a no it is under the manipulating crowd. Young King Casabuanshi yem. But down Kwabuzia Dombu tradition, one of the distinct traits of young tradition is a young Kanipa Casabuanshi yem. Young Kanipa Casabuanshi yem. Thought yes here. Without truth, governance becomes manipulation. Mo bokron into your car. Mo baye. Leadership turns into coercion. Leadership turns into coercion. And public discourse descends into chaos. But history teaches us a sobering lesson. No matter how deeply truth is buried, it never remains hidden forever. And when it rises, as it always does, it will expose and dismantle those who built their power on deceit, leaving them to be remembered not as visionaries, but as the architects of their own downfall. Me translate. Maka politics, any communication, any philosophy, any religion, aboom.
Not the fingers are changing.
Oh, common sense, say the actually. Say to me, what you know, young Fako Crocon near me. So the contompon and Nabrabasi Fapimoa. And Manimono dear, Ubenya dear Ope. But a chain in Subatam Nebu, and exactly that is what is happening to your mama. A bunny sanwa, now persuade the Kuku dear mim. Oh, come Crofon Casabwacho yem. Now let me go to the anope mitre no. Em say o de no o meboa.
Ma menhwe o de bie. E de amenya. Yes. Ya to aso. E was for a high movement television me ne ya aduma ko ba fi na edi enkomo no say
yes.
Oh okay, no problem.
What say? Menkai.
E pass up to aso.
Atiafo ntie ni mesa ma chim. Power that hides behind virtue is not strength. It is a corrosion in slow motion. History has never been kind to leaders who confuse deception for strategy and suggestion and repression for control.
Their rise often feels swift, even unstoppable, but their fall is always heavier than their ascent. Was it to me biano a wopa? Wouldn't contemplate nabraba. Now kiku and masi nyame so mpase na John Mahama si yedru baby ya wo suni ade ade ni ade ade no. Was you benya de open mani mu de. Na so sa wie no to be daddy. It reinforces Jeremiah 17:11. Or send your open in one yan ne train e kwan so no. What is saku ko hwede obutum kosia anyone the two yeso. Obebuni na mu fa yafa ajafa. Awia no obede okwasea.
Yeah.
And clearly, this is what he said. It is Mami two instances. Idi Amin and Adolf Hitler.
Okay.
Consider the tragic arc of Adolf Hitler. He rose not merely through force, but through a careful crafted image. Or chasieno. Tisa John Mama pepe. Or cancer one fad. Ahunjuani ade.
Yes, we didn't hold you.
Yes.
Obwa.
He rose not merely through force, but through a carefully crafted image. Speaking the language of national pride, restoration, and unity. Yet, beneath that rhetoric lived brutality, intolerance, and calculated manipulation. Adolf Hitler, Subaya, and John Mahama. Modern day Adolf Hitler. The casa
nurses for.
Nasa nurses for no nya e manifesto mu e bre wo mai beko mama traso or say intolerance and calculated manipulation. When dissent grew, he did not correct cause, he crashed it. Baba Eeiii Amadu bekasa Abronye bekasa Adumako befi bekasa Kofi Ofosu bekasa enitim bekayache. Is that the point?
Yeah, meow.
Nasa John Mahama ne nkofo ni munyansa. Abranti afen wasi so ane papa hwe no. Mo achi na to ma ne papa wu. Mo kum Kofi Ofosu papa. Mo ni munyansa mo nwene. Ene wo mo nya ready. Because mwa o mo kra. De o mo ye mwa wo mo. What you say? Because ugly announcement welcomes ugly frown. Say ya bana you against obedience and phone dia. And ya wo mo na wo din da so. I said, John Mama person or bouncing because once no, you are an epitome of those things.
My friend Brantel was a bit my baba. Me said, we walk along with Timber Panchin or Yare. It's come on, my colleague who create a member. I would do for a party. Was a member memory. Or bias Bobby create a scene. I'm a gun baby to see a chicken for Sunkas as a manager.
Yes.
Papa, yeah.
Was say, when dissent grew, he did not correct the cause, he crashed it. Silencing voices, bending institutions, and weaponizing the justice system. Said you what you say? For a time, it appeared effective, but the very machinery of suppression he built became the furnace that consumed him, ending not in triumph, but in ruin, disgrace, and inevitable devastation. Shasia no munchiritum yamuru yankum we Adolf Hitler wo ekosi sai na so lasting John Mahama mompa esense mura odi kire Ghana no its effect e be lasting the negative on na busia
na Idi Amin de ne
meba
okay
or reflect on Robert Mugabe, once celebrated as a liberator. He gradually wrapped authoritarian control in the cloth of patriotism. Critics were branded enemies, freedoms narrowed, and institutions weakened under the weight of personal power. The early uproars turned into silent fear and eventually into economic collapse and political isolation. His legacy, once radiant, became a cautionary tale of how quickly honor decays when power abandons humility. These are not merely historical episodes. They are philosophical warnings etched in human experience. When a leader senses exposure and responds not with introspection, but with repression, arrest instead of answers, intimidation instead of integrity, control instead of correction, they accelerate their own undoing. The abuse of human rights is not a shield. It is a confession of weakness. The suffocation of free speech is not stability. It is the silence before a storm. Here, then, is the enduring philosophical truth. You are reflecting the mass. When wickedness learns to speak the language of virtue, it becomes the most dangerous force in society.
Okay.
I take about me say the most dangerous poison. Any poisoner, it tastes a tasty sugar. And that is typical of your mama.
Maybe see uncle trade for.
Yeah, Germano. Uncle Sunonia. Eric, but Bibian will be free. Member trade is with my mother. President Kwame Nkrumah, he started so well. Nanya Misro when mu Catholic ni. A country baby a power code the trimono. A dian wa the Deportation Act. Deportation Act. And penifom yenu ye jiwamo adia go manom ofri kofodia yes ye repatriate na Afri Kumasi. Amadu babanom ene ye pam wo mu nyina. Enu kura de na nya yi. Ukofa Prevention Detention Act. Dr. Dankwa Muhammadu Baye. Dr. Dankwa. Unya daji na kenkai papa no. In fact, ya nyade when you were in power, you celebrated Dr. Dankwa. Anyway,
but Eric Fa, you know to my send let you be see Fatus Mam na me fa open discussion on Eeiii no. Cement for Autocratic baby na ehu.
And you say ne yaka.
Ehu, but Sawosaka Fatus Mam see na me hwe we have cement or abroad the to mame MBA no say cement a chamber of cement manufacturers Ghana omokrata omode ababontin signed by Dr. George Dawson Amwa PhD as was a bishop was saying the Honorable Minister of Trade, Agribusiness and Industry petition for urgent review of increased FOB values on cement raw materials. Yintien. Was he right on behalf of the Chamber of Cement Manufacturers Ghana to respectfully draw your attention to the recent significant increases in the free on borders FOB values applied to key raw materials used in cement production. These revisions introduced without adequate and stakeholder consultation have imposed considerable cost pressures on manufacturers. For instance, clinker has increased from $40 USD, okay, $40 to $136 USD. It has increased from $40 to $136 per metric ton, while granulated finish slag has risen from $3 to $40 per metric ton. Such increases appear inconsistent with prevailing global market trends and threaten the competitiveness of the local cement industry. The implications are twofold. Here are the twofold implications. We're saying higher production costs due to increased duties and taxes, and then two, rising cement prices, which will negatively impact construction, housing, and infrastructure development. And now what can add to us? It is FOB no a free by about free $40 to $136 per metric ton. We a year cement Chamber of Cement Manufacturers Ghana and no matter petition and I come trade minister. Yeah, we go fast.
All right. So the kind they na make as a John Mama so be see a dry school biano. E wo NDC Manifesto 2024.5.3.3.5 e wo honom. What they no eto nchen a adwadifo die yi etiefo they make nyina no. This is NDC's Manifesto. Etiefo nwe me ntwa ntroda enum na me ko tu die free. Na de tie nie so hwe eye adwadifo die no a eno na economics no me nya de enti no. Na hunu professors ni bi omo ne me eye ho adwuma na me de abeka nkae no. Na tie ha eye page eye just a moment. Catch me. Now even go to na fi me nhyase e mfiri ahonom. So
okay, it's no ya ebisi ado matwi na doso. Na quotations no wo kotu no brofo nkwa no amena matwi a ya na enkofo entiase.
So me di bi matwi for mo fan tell.
Aha, it's no
ni kra no ye make nyina no. Mesa penitwi version. Yeah, Mufes camera anymore. Thank you. What say? What share a year? What say? You will rationalize duties and charges to ease the cost of doing business. NDC Manifesto 2024 page 30.2.2.3. And to restore prudent management of cocoa board to revive the cocoa sector, page 41.3.1.2.2. And then many boy Mr. Najana make misery. And the cocoa board no wakuguyo. Niambra jadi for the so. Okaya ma jadi for the oka say you reduce VAT.
Yes.
But many pam you know do amukov finance and do amukov Bank of Ghana no. Esia ma record obi anim. He was standing trial. Banks a gu ye siama na totobi kwa yi oda ban kwa fie atu forcing was standing trial. Even there were cases via no and amamfo anshe dante when he was the deputy oba bi onu ko ye deal sikasem bi ni and what do me this atu forcing we are talking about.
Yes.
Ana unkai onka say issue enti chese awudifo pa an wako mabom totobi kwa yi oda ban kwa fie MPP to on mono. And into dru baby akane no na ye ni oforiata mpanifo ni bi kane ade no. You must identify your constituencies. Ye gidi sadwadifo o mind ko ye because private sector nti ani adwadifo tena. Say na MPP nya kura no a eze Clinton eze Canada moa kasa kura no mo de bemma wo no na wakoma to yem. And na de no kwatena yiwo yeso muadie ade ba kwa MPP anya de nse eba ye yen customs empanimfo a egu habo no yen fi wo mo enkrofo eba ye yen promote wo mo nkrofo but wo mo ba ye nkrofo no o ma juo mo nyina fi honom on transport wo akra biem dr ba o mi akika mafu na kama dampan si eba bie wu a ye sre yeso wo nipa eba nwoma yeso ache wo mo mi enkai mo mi enyi afunu ntungu da se san nkrofo NDC fo na da de onu kwa kan kusi ajabin hui san wonu ohonum no NDC ni a promote no so ti ase enti abusua de eniema ekoso no adwadifo de Dr. Bawumia kan sansem se ba ye be ma flat yi ana
okay
wanka
ka se e be pegin to e first
adwadifo mo ante Dr. Bawumia kodru baby as typical of him, so gentle, nice na adwadifo nwa humetie nti da wodom nti okoka sa GR for nyema mo ye mo hadwadifo ye di na tem na adwadifo na osenka moto abama no montin was original ye obi ka bibi ma Bawumia
Debbie
Bawumia stood near waban mu na nso democracy yen yete ase cha abrofo de ba yi nti no na GR for kan se hunu kire vice president yetimi anka hwe na da nye time ye kofa adampare bai regional minister Henry Kote yes 1-2 kai be ye di bebom deputy chief of staff asenso mete yese menu adampare mo agene ka najo na me friend am so the great ampa o ya meti taxi
ampa
oh yes
and the manti
oh asenso airport ha
no minister no
ye minister no ye create niam bia se democracy no but perception so study perception our politics ma mini amfa ni agro ebra sa no it embolden the citizenry ebomu so MPP for kromani nya den
ampa
it embolden them and yes pursue ye ho dan pare kutelo bi ono ye regional security commander no ye Henkote no dan pare si won tu ne kan free ho
na wanya den
no wanya den
wala nwa begu ha na
and ye try na ye fe o ye ti democracy ase any member bre ho na ye self-inflicted. They are self-inflicted. We exposed our ministers. Now, Papa ya Okolusu Okadei, you have finished former MP. They are Chino car.
Ofosua Samoa.
And you Ofosua Samoa. Ofosu de so no wako wie. You know Ofosua Samoa a call 3 a year no buy. Oh.
Sir.
Yes. Or no call ye or call one time. And na masebo say wunti.
Eeiii no
you can say do you know me
Westland
you go papa ye na say tam
gempa bypass
on fancy kamwa yemra power ye ba wie ya ye ntime defend said people but they will lose short ya se ye guna na say enti ye ba bi on me say ya mum ye nyate nkam free ho ni ye mfa Ghana the mindset the psyche of the people and ye betimi de o manatra and never be adwuma ya kodroi si enya ho hye so kakra ye nya odo kakra de ma ye ho and anko ye say 2 million ye di ama ye di ya enke be masa ankrofo we amambofo yi enipa nyamesuni wo mumu yi ombeba ena dwadifo tese areho na akaka dollar ba fom okoka dollar ba fom
inflation dollar ba fom inflation ba fom yet import duty cost skyrocketing
nanu miami nua pa ba ko a mene no wokuma se na nyame abo a ban ba wanya ba bia kohye na mene no kohia is it UTV na brantie na dollar menya adaje ma ne kasa wie ya na so no wonder because you people know you always maximize negatives and you minimize positives. Nobody is against macroeconomic stability, but it should reflect our micro. Ente enquire then a yeding. Me papa ye bofo. De bia so udi nkwanya ye nkwanhuru. Na papa no wo and what okumabo na so kokoton. Yansa wom. That is what you are saying. Me ye dwadini ba akosha frimpo ma ba na mtie. Ente wo ka dwadini a na waka me. Enti me nyadaje tie wo nsem. Sem wo kumase, sem won kran. Me what Autocratic, me what Cape Coast. The first place American akwadwadi for wo asitem ti say.
Me ko.
And na the man ye gen say the tragedy for ma nisa ku omo no say e man the doso be ma dwuma gu a wontin fa pan siniti e ye man the sora homache etu ka dwadi fo anu aka yen ene koko fo a Ghana yes bofo watu ama ne koko fo a yesei tesemini a uka areho na jomama asem okan mo ma ne wure mfie o say na akufo ado say bedu election a ene wo fa di padwuma. Meanwhile, no, we will be a historian now. One study history here, at least 1st degree in history. The culture because Nana Akufo-Addo about 2017, any part 2012, 2016 young farmer na one chain election yamebuana. But now some of the entire garden, we are dancing. Me can say, if free no question, your mama ye be anwa. Is it because here ya ben election trana? Enti kokwa kwa for no na no masmo kano. Say next year or 2 more a election in trana. Ananya sanete teachers and nurses so ye no just so of amoa election dranka because no any formula onyini wakasem. He's an apology to communication
me da say
na niam a de usu akire
why me so why
enti yanke kam kwa
da be time nta your time nta
na say fe kwa makasa be 5 minutes
Oda bontofa ne ko
ansem no mo ya
bontofa
nyame nhwe ye nua no so ma me fansi ana nhwe na manu atra